Hi everyone, it's Nat here. Hope you're all doing well. I'm on with my first tutorial video for this round for Beebeecraft. So there will be links down below to Beebeecraft and to the products that I'm using this time. There's also a link to Beebeecraft's YouTube program if you're interested in getting some free items to do some tutorials for them. If you have 100 or more subscribers, you may be eligible, so you can click on that link to find out more. So I grabbed, two of the things I grabbed anyway were some more leather working bits and pieces. So I've got a whole range of different shaped dies here, and I also have some more stamps. These were the insect themed stamps, so we will get into it. So I have all my shaped dies there, and I've just chosen a few of the shapes that I'd like to cut out of my leather to begin with, figuring out where I want to put them. And then I turn it over this way. I found last time this was the easiest way for me to do it, was to have the leather upside down on top of the cutting part of the die and then hit on that. And a lot quicker at cutting them out now in general. It just depends because some of the leather's thicker than others and stronger, so some take a bit more time than others. But there's sort of a sweet spot if you keep angling your hammer. You'll finally sort of figure where it hits the best, and you just keep going along once you break through, and yeah, it comes out quite nicely. Then you just got to poke it out with something because it sticks in there. There's so many cool little shapes in this lot, and I have the number that's on the bottom of the leather sample, so I thought it would be cool to utilise that in some of my embellishments. So I'm using this keyhole shaped one, trying to aim to get the number down the bottom there. And there's teardrop shaped ones. There's different sizes of a number of the shapes so that you can do some layering if you like. Or even, which I might try in the future, you could make some sort of pictures like flowers and that with bits of leather. So on occasion we'll just have a little bit that's still hanging on, and so I just use my scissors to snip that to loosen the piece. Don't think my kids were very impressed with me doing this. I was hammering away for half the day. But I thought while I had the stuff out, I'd get a whole lot done. Do all the bashing and hammering at once, and then I've got a whole heap ready to go when I want to use them. I'm so glad to have found something to do with all of my leather scraps and samples. I don't buy leather to do this with at all. It's all scraps that I've had sitting around for years and years. So rather than wasting it, it's good to be able to create something to use in future journals. Very fortunate to have a multitude of colours too, due to the fact that I've got a lot of little samples. So you can inlay your leather, of course, into bits that you've cut out, which looks quite neat. So I wanted to do a bit of that as well. So I cut the same shape out of this brown leather, and I'm just using the lines on my board to help me cut straight around it because I want to make a leather book plate to use on a journal. So this was my first attempt at this, and I really love the way it turned out. It's not perfect. None of this is perfect. Very much learning. It's just such a great way to use it, and it ends up looking really, really cool on the front of a journal cover. It's quite easy to cut through the leather with your craft knife and your ruler like that. So I spent some time cutting a whole heap of shapes that you might be able to see here, or different shapes from the set that we grabbed. I also cut one shape from the set that I grabbed last time because it will actually go with some of the smaller shapes in the set that we got this time. I also cut out some of the negatives to use as book plates or something like that I want to have a bit of fun with. So now I want to do some of the punching with the shapes that I got. And I'm going to use my proper big hammer for this. I had a little go the other day and wasn't getting very good imprint, but I was using my rubber hammer. And this is pretty sturdy, so I thought, well, I'll give it a go with the hammer, and I think that's going to be a bit easier for me with this lot of stamps. My letter stamps that I got last time don't need, if you whack them too heavy, you get the imprint around the letter. So they were fine with the rubber hammer, but these ones seem to need a good whacking. So I'll use my other hammer for that. I've got my wood board just because you want something solid underneath for your stamping. So I'll do a couple with you and then I'll go off and do some more on my own, and then we'll have a look at what we've done and try and get some colour into some of them. So I do want to put words on these bits. I will do that. You saw me do that last time, so I'm not going to do that with you because that's with the letter and words set that I got last time. I'll try and remember to link these down below as well, or you can go and look at my last month's unboxing from Beebeecraft to find them. And I cut like different sizes because we've got layered shapes. This is the set I used to do all these shapes. I did find it very hard to do small shapes. I tried to cut a little circle into one of these, and it didn't work out this one. It did start cutting and everything, but it's because it's hard for me to hold and hammer and the leather falls off and that. So I've just got to find out how to do that easier. And then I'll be able to do that. So I stuck to the bigger shapes and that. But there's so many ones that you can layer in this set, and that attracted me to it. So I thought I'd have a bit of a play around with that. So I've got a few of different sizes and colours of the same sort of shape and that sort of thing. So we will get to it and have a bit of a play. So we might start with, now I do like to spray the bits with water before I punch them. I don't know if I'm going to get them all done today. Maybe I'll just, and some of them I want to layer, so I've got to figure that out too. So I'll do that off camera, but I know I'm going to do some stamping with that. I know that these bits I want to put words on, so I'll put them to the side. And I know I want to do some stamping on this one as well. And I do want to do one on that one. So maybe I'll do these with you and then I'll go off and do the rest. So first I want to give them a spritz. So I'll just grab a plastic mat to do that on. So I'll just spritz the bottom. And then turn them over and give the top a bit of a spray. I'll just move them onto my hammering mat. Now I'll do one with the volume on and then I'll probably turn the volume off for you so you don't have to listen to me hammering. So I think I'm going to do the B on this one. So I'll put my B on. So this just slips really easy onto there. So I think I'll put him about there. Give him a good whack. Yep, that works better. So you can see the imprint of the bee there. I do find that if I lean it around a bit as I go, that I don't miss the details too much anywhere. And yeah, it looks like I've got all the details in that. So I'll get on and put some detail into these. I've done heaps and heaps of stamping now, and I've stamped some words that we wanted. The next thing I want to do is just go around my edges. I don't really like the look of the clean leather and that, so I use black acrylic paint. You could use a Sharpie, which I did test out, but I don't actually like the look of it as much, so I do prefer to use the acrylic paint. And either way, I mean, the Sharpie's no quicker. I thought it would be. It's not really. So I will stick to the acrylic paint, which can be a bit messy, but what I use is a wet wipe. So it's just slightly damp. And you only need the tiniest amount of paint. So that's piles. And I just like lightly brush it on, just to take that fresh leather look. Could use whatever colour you want, or other mediums I'm sure would work, but I find the acrylic paint is fine for this. So I have heaps of leather pieces that I need to go around now with acrylic paint. So I've rubbed the acrylic around all of my pieces. So as it dries, it sort of lightens up a bit, but it's still not as harsh sort of whiteness that we had before. So the next thing I want to do is, I've got this one which I punched some numbers on, and you can see them quite fine, but it's good to get a bit more sort of colour in them and highlight them more. Now, last time I did rub acrylic into them and ink a gold. We might do some more of that with some of them after, but I did read up that some people actually use a fine tip Sharpie to get some colour in them. So I have here a Micron. It's a 05 Pigma Micron pen. So I'm going to use that. It's just a black one. To carefully just try and get a bit of colour. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just to make our sort of embossed numbers stand out a bit. So you can do that as well. So with this one, I want to layer it. So I'm just going to grab some of my 450 glue. Just run some of that on the back. Then I want to stick it down in the middle of this other piece that we cut out. We'll leave that to dry for a bit. We've got a ladybug here. Now I might try her with the acrylic we could do ink gold. We'll try acrylic and see how we go. It's just to highlight her a bit more, not really to get colour as such. So I'm just getting a tad onto my wet wipe. And then it comes out real dark. And then if you're careful wiping it off, you can leave some of the colour in there, which I struggle because I want to get all the stuff off from around the outside. Got some in her legs there, all right. And then, of course, once you've got it wet, it's hard for any of the paint to stick, so... You can get one of your cotton buds and try and get the paint off in between too. I've just got paint all over myself. That's actually not too bad. Messy. So again, we can stick that one down. See if we've got some excess paint there. Let's go over the whole lot. See, that's going in the letters nicely. So you probably do want to get quite a deep impression for that to work on the lot. So it is standing out a fair bit more. The letters look great. So if I got better embossing on the B, he'd probably stand out a bit more. Might let him dry and play with him a bit more later. Now, I don't know if I want to do anything with this one. Maybe we'll just go around. Maybe just the micron. That one turned out really nicely. So I will show you a bit closer if you can see. I don't know if you can see. It says love and has the love heart. So quite happy with that one. So we will just do that. Yeah, like that. Next thing I want to try is my ink of gold again. I have a spider here on this black leather. So I'm going to try rubbing in a bit of my ink of gold. It is a bit dry, so I might just give it a squirt. That gets in there quite nicely. Some of the extra gold off around the edges. Just lighten it up a bit. Quite like that. It's definitely showing up, so we're going to do the same with this one. It's a butterfly and the word fly on this. See how that comes up. Too bad. Might let that dry. So it'd be good to try and get a little more in that side and the bottom of the F if we can. Alright, let that dry a bit. So I'm going to finish off playing around with these, and then we'll come back and have a look at them. I have done a whole lot of my leather stamping and trying to colour in the bits and pieces, so we'll have a look at them afterwards. But I do have a whole lot of blanks that I've cut out with the shapes, the leather dies. Great, they're all ready to go when I want to use them. So I can either use the leather stamps on these or leave them as they are, or you can in fact just use do normal stamping on them as well, which I have done with leather before. So we'll do one just so I can show you what I mean. So I've got this tiny little bit here, and I thought I could try and stamp something on that. I have the field notes stamps here because you get some small numbers in that set. So I will grab a stamp block. So for this you want to use your Stays On ink, as the leather is a bit glossy. So I'm just going to ink up the numbers that we want. It's looking good. And there, we've stamped on that, so I'm going to let that dry for a while. It's a little smudged, the 9 is, but otherwise that's pretty good. So leave that to dry. But yeah, so you can use your other stamps as well if you haven't got leather stamps to use. So put that to the side and put that together in a minute. Now I made this, it's a little shield with my initials either side. It's just an example. I'm trying to show you some examples of what you can do with the shapes and what you can do with the stamps. Now this one I coloured in with my micron pen, and you can sort of tell it's done with pen. You could colour it in otherwise with other things though, which I did attempt as well. So put that one to the side. I do like this one. This one I've layered the 2 bits of leather and I used my number stamps. So they're embossed in there quite nicely, and then I coloured them in with my micron pen. I think that'll make a neat little dangle. So for that one I would just use my hole punch to put a little hole in there. So try and get it centered. Then we've got a hole, so we can dangle that on a chain or on a bulb pin and hang on our journals. Got this one which says love with the love heart. Now I did go over that with my acrylic, and I think I went over it with my micron pen as well, so we'll put a hole in that. We'll have a whole heap of leather charms ready to go. You could hang them on tags as well, which would look pretty cool. Try and get my hole in the middle. It's close enough. I've got a little leaf. Now with this one, I tried the acrylic, I did the micron pen, and I wasn't too happy with it. So I sat down with my alcohol markers, did a bit of colouring. So I found if I coloured the piece in a bit and then just blotted it with the tissue, that I quite liked the effect. So I've made a green leaf there. So just a lot of experimenting to see what worked. I've got this one, which is my spider. Now I used the Inca Gold on that. That came out really nicely actually. You definitely need to try and get a good impression, like an even impression. And then I ended up colouring his middle with black alcohol marker and then blotting it. So I've got this one, which is just a simple little diamond. I've got the sun. B one, I had a lot of trouble with the B one because I didn't get an even impression. The word was great, just with a bit of the acrylic paint rubbed over. But the B, I ended up colouring him in with alcohol markers and going around him a few times with I have a detail pen with my alcohol markers as well, and that worked good like the Micron. That is a bit of a disaster, so we won't look at that for long. Not a good imprint. This one worked out quite well. This is my butterfly. Again, I think I used everything. I used the Inca Gold initially, and it came out quite nice. But I thought a bit of colour would look nice, so alcohol marker again to colour him in, and then Micron to do the letters. So I can put a hole in the top of that and dangle it, or you could just stick it as it is on top of something as well. This one turned out quite nice. More of a natural style. My smiley face. Wanted to show how you can layer the different shapes and that. And this one is my ladybug. And in the end, I coloured her body in with the alcohol marker. She stands out a bit better now. And then use the black fine detail pen. That one didn't really work out. And then we've got these two. So this is my favourite way of using my leather dies, and that to make book plates for journals. So this turned out really well. I actually think I'm starting to get somewhere now. I had pretty good imprints of these stamps. For this, I have only used my acrylic paint. You can sort of see it's a little messy around here, but I did find if I rubbed it on, left it just for a little tiny bit, and then wiped it away with my finger, I could get more left in the ditches there. And so this has turned out quite nice. You can see all the embossing quite nicely. So I'm really happy with that one, which is good because I want to use that in a current project. And then I used the letter stamps that I got last time to do this name, Lizzie. Don't ask me why, but that's what this journal's going to be named. And that I will inlay into that. And then I punch 4 holes and put some brads in there, and it makes a beautiful front of the book plate, name plate for my journal. And then I did this one as well, and this one I'm going to inlay, and that one says Daisy, and I actually coloured in the letters with a white gel pen, and then I blotted it out because I didn't want it too stark white. I didn't want it looking like it was sort of texture over the top or whatever. So, and then we've got the flowers around the outside. I love the way that one turned out. So I'm getting there. Now, I did use a book plate that I made in a similar style to this one on a journal recently. So what I will do is add a photo of that at the end of this as well, so you can see how I'm going to use them on the front of a cover. But the rest of these, as I said, you could just stick them down on a tag or something. But most likely I will put a hole in them and just dangle them from a bowl pin on a spine. And that is something that I did on the journal that I've already finished as well. So as I said, I'll show you the cover and you'll be able to see one of these that I've hung. I did a word on it and the book plate as well. Now we have this one, don't we? So now that should be dry enough for me to go ahead and stick down. So that was a bit of noisy and messy play. But it's good to do a whole heap at once. So I was going to put it in the middle, and then we can have brads either side if we want to. Probably should have punched my holes first, but that's all right. If you don't want to use brads, you can just stick little gems or whatever that look like brads on there. So sometimes I stick something to here so I can see, like measure how far in I'm going. It's very hard to see. I think we need to go. Oh, that was close. actually cut some of my little thing there, but that's all right. Just showing you what I would do with it. And then grab your brads. And hopefully that will hide my little nick a bit. Might have to cut that end off a little bit. Can't find my little wire cutters, so this is going to have to be what we use. Okay, so that's the type of thing that I do with this sort of thing. Layer them up, do some stamping either with my acrylic stamps or my leather stamps, and make cool little labels like that. Really good for your steampunk, masculine, vintage style journals. Just, yeah, as I said, don't do whoopsies like what I do. So that is it for today. That was a fun play. I am improving with them. It does take time, as I said, to learn how much pressure to apply to the stamps to get a good even imprint. But I'm definitely a lot better than I was the first time I tried. And then just learning how to get colour in them and what to use for that. So there's still some other things I'd like to try. The alcohol markers obviously work, so I'll have to have a go with the alcohol inks and that sort of thing. Maybe some oxides or whatever, and just have a bit of a play. But yeah, give it a go. If you've got a whole lot of belts or anything with your made of leather that you think you'll be able to cut through with those dies, it's a great way to recycle them. So have a go. The links to all of the products are down below, as is a link to Beebeecraft and their YouTube program as well. So massive thank you to Beebeecraft for the awesome products. I will be on again in the next week. I do have the big pack of bows that I got. That's going to be heaps of fun. So I'm going to find a project to use them for. So take care of yourselves, be good, and I will see you again soon. Bye.